Who represent the members of their unions who worked in this building, and that is of course as I introduced to them, Gracia Rikhotso, who is with Nehawu, and also Tahir Mayepa, who is from PSA. And we asked you earlier on our viewer question for today here on The Full View. Our question of the day is whether you believe that the building that you work in is actually hazardous to your health. So let's find out from the union representatives whether they believe that their members are working under hazardous conditions. Gracia, let me start with you. And you have actually been very scathing about what has happened here, but not just today. It has been going on for quite some time. So what are your sentiments right now?
Thank you very much, Sakina, and we firstly want to pass our deepest condolences to the three families as well as the many others that were victims of this particular incident. Coming to the issue in terms of how we feel about this incident, as Nehawu, we are not sympathetic to any of the people who are responsible for this. And in our own opinion, there are three parties to this particular issue. Firstly, it's the Department of Health. Secondly, it is the Department of Infrastructure Development. And lastly, it's the Department of Labor. And I will actually justify why am I saying these three departments are responsible for what brings us here today. Firstly, with Department of Health, we have actually been victims as Nehawu, where 6 of our shop stewards were actually suspended for a period of over 18 months. They were then charged and dismissed. We had to go through a vigorous, nerve-wracking process of disciplinary proceedings until we got them back to work at the appeal stage. But it didn't actually end there. What we also did, we then had to, upon their return, still continued to raise the issue of occupational health and safety. And the latest platform where this issue was actually raised once again was at the Gauteng Multilateral, which is a forum where joint unions meet with management to raise issues that affect workers in the building. And on the agenda item, the issue around the state of the building, which is Bank of Lisbon, was an agenda item. Previously, we were comforted by the fact that there was an acknowledgement by management after we made all sorts of noises to move employees from the department. What we expected on the 31st of August 2018 at the multilateral was for the department to then give us an update as to when were they going to move the employees and where were the employees going to be moved at. But to our surprise, when we got to that item, we were told this item will have to be removed from the agenda because a decision was made that we are no longer moving the employees. And as unions, we were very disturbed because we knew that nothing much has actually changed in terms of the state of the building. And the question that we asked was, what got to that change of mind in terms of not moving the employees, because the state of the building has not actually changed. And all we got was just promises. We're told that there are reports. When we requested those reports, we're told these reports still need to be found somewhere else. And to us, this is a case of pure negligence. We do not believe that this is an accident, and we do actually want to put it without any fear or favor that this incident could have been prevented had the department listened to us as organized labor and reacted in terms of moving employees out of this department.
Tahir, your view on this as well, but also you've also been very scathing, and the reality, the stark reality that we are faced with right now is that 3 people have lost their lives. So there has to be accountability for that. What are your views on this?
Look, we share the same sentiments as Nehawu. And firstly, I would also like to extend our condolences to the families of the 3 firefighters who died under these circumstances. And I would like to put it clear as well, we don't consider this an accident. An accident is something that happens when you are unaware. The departments were aware that this building was not in a good condition. It's been a couple of years that we've been raising these issues with them. This for us is murder. It is not an accident. And us as organized labor will make sure that there are consequences. There's no way that we're going to continue with a situation where people who have been entrusted with making sure that the lives of the workers are upheld, they are the ones who are putting them into the gallows. Every day for the past 2 years, our members were coming to a death trap. It could have been worse. It could have been worse if only they had listened to us. As early as last week, we were still raising the issues with regards to the safety of this particular building. But nobody was willing to listen to us. Now you see them running around with crocodile tears as if they are sympathetic. There's no sympathy here. They are trying to save their asses because they are responsible for what has happened here. Today, as in Nehawu, we just came from the High Court. Why? Because of the National Department of Health took us to court because of our members are refusing to work into a building that doesn't comply with Health and Safety Occupation Act. And these are the realities. And this is not the only building. There's multiple buildings around Johannesburg and around the country that are not worthy to be occupied. But they are not willing to listen to us. And we are saying enough is enough. Our members are not going to die under our watch. We are going to confront this thing head on, and we are going to make sure that whoever that is responsible for this pays the price.
Well, let me just apologize for the use of crude language there, Mr. Maepa. We do apologize to our viewers for that. So if we can just keep it clean. But then, of course, coming back to this particular situation, what are your members telling you about how this fire started? Does anyone actually know at this stage?
Okay, thank you, Sakina. As early as last week, fire broke in a level which belongs to human settlements, and the deputy director or the director of human settlement used a fire extinguisher that was in his office, and when staff raised alarm to say, are we safe, should we not actually consider this as a hazard, he then told them that they want to make a big thing out of nothing. And to us, that was the beginning of a tragedy waiting to happen. And our members were seen and said to be alarmist. Our members were seen, and shop stewards were seen to be inciters to workers who are supposed to quietly sit in a death trap and actually work. But we also want to just fast forward in terms of what happened in a meeting this morning with MEC Mamabolo. The Premier makes a very concerning statement to say they are actually working with organized labor to address the challenges within GPG. And that is not a fact, because we have repeatedly, there were even marches that were taken to the office of the Premier wanting to catch his attention after we realized that our cries, our cautions are falling on deaf ears. Today we are told that there are 7 buildings that are not complying, but we are not actually being told what is the plan that they are having in terms of addressing those 7 buildings. And without being apologetic, without being sounding as if we are inciting, we are definitely going to advise our members in those 7 identified buildings not to actually enter that, because there is a report that we are told has actually identified serious flaws, and it is the commitment of the Premier to say he is not going to allow any worker to get into those buildings that were identified, which are 7. But as organized labor, we'll go back to our drawing board. We are actually going to push a notion that says we need to do a proper audit, because it is not only 7 buildings. As my colleague from PSA has actually put it, it is not only in Johannesburg, it is not only in Tshwane. We have to actually audit all the buildings across Gauteng, and any building that we are going to obviously hear from our members that it doesn't meet the required standards, we will definitely not shy away from actually advising our members not to fall victims of what actually happened here.
So very interestingly, because you're talking about a fire that broke out last Friday, was contained. There are many other stories that are swirling around as the wind swirls here, but we also hear that there was perhaps some corruption investigation taking place and, something to that nature in this building on the floor where the fire allegedly broke out. Are you any clearer on that?
Look, there's a number of things that are happening in our government, and surely we cannot really say exactly what started the fire. The fact of the matter is one, Sakina. If somebody took advantage of the fact that this building is in a bad state and did that, that needs to be investigated. But that doesn't take away the fact that we told these people. And sorry for my passion about this, because this thing really makes me angry. And we have to be angry not only as unions, but as a society. 3 mothers have lost their children. Spouses lost their spouses. Children lost their fathers. Because of what? Somebody was negligent in their responsibilities. And what we are saying is that we need a situation where somebody must just listen. But if they are not listening, unfortunately, they are leaving us with no alternative but to do what unions have to do, is to make sure that the safety of our members come first. And that we are not going to apologize on that. Himself, Mr. Mamabolo, I don't know how many meetings we have had with him, but he comes to the media now and he wants to create this impression that they've been trying to do something with regards to this particular situation. Myself, about 2 years ago, the first time I went into this building, it was so terrible that I raised it with a head of labor relations. I said, but how can you make any employee to work under these conditions? And he said, you know what, comrade, this is the situation. We are also forced to be under this kind of situation. In Pretoria, the building that we are saying that our members will not work into, they've already spent 1 billion refurbishing that building, but it's still not compliant. Where did the 1 billion go to? People are stealing, and they are really creating all this havoc because of somebody's getting rich every time there's a tragedy. This tragedy is going to make somebody very wealthy. Make no mistake about it. And what we are saying is that this cannot be. It cannot be business as usual. We need to stand up. Society must stand up. These kinds of things should not be allowed. The children who are sitting in the opposite building, now they are going to sleep there in the park. These are our children. The same mothers who are working there and working in other areas, their children are going to sleep in the park because of somebody was negligent in their responsibility. And we're saying there must be consequences.
So who was negligent? Who do you believe needs to be held accountable for what happened here?
Organizations such as this has got people who are entrusted with the responsibility to ensure that people's lives cannot be compromised. It is actually an irony that in the Department of Health, the health issues are actually swept under the carpet. Yeah. But what we are saying is whoever that is entrusted with the responsibility of ensuring that in an employer-employee relations, safe working conditions are provided, must actually take the blame. In this case, we know that there is an MEC, we know that there is a head of the department, and it is them that will actually tell us all other people who must actually follow suit, because it is about time that wrong must actually not be protected and the law must actually take its full might, irrespective of whether we are in alliance, irrespective of who is in government. It is the lives that we treasure, and it is the responsibility of those who are given the responsibility to ensure that lives are precious, lives are actually appreciated and protected.
And just perhaps in closing, Tahir, with regard to your members, the workers who were stationed, housed in this particular building, where are they now and what is the plan?
Well, currently it is not clear where they're going to be placed. They are just lingering around. But again, we need to make it very clear. We are not going to allow our members who are in this building to be taken to another non-compliant building. That will never happen. In fact, we are going to seek legal advice. Those buildings where are not compliant, where our members are, we are going to also pull them out. It is the responsibility of government and the departments to make sure that they provide suitable buildings. Where they're going to get them, I don't think it's any of our business. Our role is to serve this nation. That is our role. But we are going to serve this nation under an environment that is conducive by law.
Okay. Maybe Sakina, also in closing, we also want to raise, because we are responsible unions. We do not take pride and comfort in seeing people who are supposed to be implementers of service delivery staying at home. It's my tax, it's your tax, it's his tax. And that is also another element of negligence, because people are going to be paid staying at home, because we will definitely make sure that no money will be deducted from our members, no leave will be actually deducted from our members. But on the same token, people who are actually responsible for that, for the period that these workers will be at home, it must be quantified, and those who are going to be found to be responsible must actually pay back that money.
Well, thank you so much, Gracia Rikhotso, who is the Deputy Provincial Secretary of Nehawu, and Tair Mahepa, who is the spokesperson for the Public Service Association, giving us their views on this tragedy. Well, it's very busy out in these streets. I am looking at Michael Sun, the Mayoral Committee member for Safety in Johannesburg, and just behind us there, I can see Uhuru Moilwa, the MEC for Human Settlements. So everybody's still out here trying to see that all of this, some comes to some sort of finality. Well, that's it from me here, and it's back to you, Francis, in the studio.